Hello everybody, I'm your instructor Eric Jones, and today I wanted to create a quick video on Jupyter Lab. This is based off of the Jupyter Lab reference guide, which I linked to you guys recently. Let's start out here. Now I just wanted to point out on the left-hand side this header navigation. I know this document can feel maybe a little bit overwhelming. I mean, there's quite a lot of pages and information in it, but you can actually look for the section that you want using these header links. So we've got Jupyter Lab is the base, and then we've got these different sections, and then within each section there's subsections. So if you think about working with files, you're like, man, how do I upload something to Canvas? Well, give that a click and it'll get you to that section and give you some tips and tricks for doing something like that. But I just want to show you a little bit more about Jupyter Lab itself. I'll skip the why use Jupyter Lab and just give a quick summary that we use Jupyter Lab because it makes writing and running code a lot easier. So let's actually start with opening Jupyter Lab. Now, if you have not installed Jupyter Lab, I assume everybody has, but there are instructions for installing Jupyter Lab in Module 0, and they'll be linked in the description of this video as well. We're on a Mac, so we're going to be using the Mac terminal. If you're in Windows, you'll be using PowerShell. Mac versus Windows has really almost no difference for this tutorial, so don't worry that you're missing out on something. Once you've opened the terminal for Mac or PowerShell for Windows, you can start Jupyter Lab by running the command Jupyter Lab, and that is Jupyter-Lab. Remember, it's Jupyter with a Y. Interesting. So if you run this here, some code will pop up and your browser will pop up. This is the Jupyter interface. You've seen it before at this point, but what you might not have seen is, let's say the tab doesn't pop up for some reason. You can actually copy this link from the terminal window and then paste it into a new tab, and that'll also bring up Jupyter Lab. Now, one thing of distinction I wanted to point out is Jupyter actually isn't running in the browser. Jupyter is running right here. So if you actually want to quit the application, closing the window technically won't do that. You have to either just click X out of the terminal here or press Control-C, and I'll show that to you in a little bit. So let's start out with the files section. That's on the left-hand side here. This shows you all the files and folders that are within this root folder. Now, something that might be confusing to folks is that this root folder is technically not the root of your system, at least not always. It's dynamic. It's actually based on where the terminal is at the time. Okay? Well, what does that mean? So here in our root folder, we see a bunch of files. But if we were at the root of our system, we'd expect to see more system-related files. We'd expect to see maybe the user file or the documents folder or something like that. That's because this terminal is currently inside of the inst126 folder that I created for various purposes. So let me show you, if you're opening up your Jupyter Lab and you can't find the files you're looking for, it may be that your terminal is just not in the correct location. Let me quit out of this and show you how to get there. So you can quit out by pressing Control-C. It'll prompt you for Y or N. Press Y, and it will quit. I didn't press it fast enough, so let's do it a little bit faster. Apparently it gives you only 5 seconds to do that. So I'll clear this terminal here. That doesn't actually do anything except make it easier to see things on the screen. But how can I fix this? Well, we're in the inst126 folder, and we can tell that because it says it right here. We can see exactly where we are on our system by typing pwd. And that shows us we're in root, users, ejones99, documents, inst126. We're definitely not in the base of our computer. To go to the home directory on your computer for your user, you can type cd and then the tilde sign. And that'll bring you to your home directory. So if we type pwd again, you see we're in ejones99 inside of users. Okay, and now we can see our documents folder and stuff like that. So let me open up Jupyter Lab again. And you'll see that files section actually changes. All right, yes, we're actually seeing exactly what we saw in the terminal, right? Very cool. So you can see that the root is linked to what's in the terminal. Now I wanted to show you also the breadcrumb section. So this is this bar up here. If I click documents, you'll see that the word documents pops up. Then if I click INST126, it shows INST126. So as you navigate through your file system, it gives you a hint of where you are. If I want to go back to the previous folder, I can just click documents. Okay, well that's all very well and good, but let's go back to our reference guides here and let's see what's next. How do we open a file? Well, it's pretty simple. We can just double click it. Let's go into our INST126 folder and what do we got here? Let's open up our untitled.ipynb. So we double click that and look at that, a new tab opens up. So this kind of works a little bit like a web browser. This is the editor section and it has tabs. We can tab through them here. So we can open this up and let me show you as well. We can save a file and that's done in a few different ways. You can do your Command S on Mac or Control S on Mac to save a file, or you can click this little save button right here at the the left-hand side of the editor, or of course you can do file and then save notebook or save notebook as, okay? So one other thing, autosave does not exist. You actually have to save your notebooks manually. How do you know you have to save your notebook? Let's say I make a change to this cell here. New variable equals true. And what we can notice here is on the tab right here at the top, we have a little dot. And this dot indicates that this file needs to be saved. We'll also see the little dot in the file section right in the corner, right in the left corner. And that tells us the file needs to be saved. So if I press Command S on Mac, I think I have to have it selected, then it should have saved the file. So the little dot went away in a tab up there, but I guess it didn't go away there for some reason. I'm actually not quite sure why that is. Anyhow, we have our new variable. We can of course close this tab by clicking X. Now, what is a Jupyter notebook? A Jupyter notebook is the core type of file that we'll be working with in this class. A Jupyter notebook contains a combination really of three different things that kind of make our life easier as a developer. It contains rich text, which allows you to do nice text formatting, headers, links, etc. to make your code more readable, and so we can include things like instructions. It also includes your code, right? So this document is actually executable by the computer. And lastly, as you've seen, it actually stores the outputs of your code, which can be useful for sharing your results with other people. How do we create a new notebook? Well, we have this launcher that will automatically appear, and we can click Create a New Notebook. You see there's this notebook section right here. So I'll click this, then we can have a fresh new notebook, and you'll see it's also appeared in the Files section down there. Excellent. So we'll go back to our reference guide here. There's some information on how to save it, as I have shown you, but there's actually a nice little nifty trick here. Say you're trying to upload your file to Canvas, but you just can't find it. I've heard of this issue before. And you're looking through your file system, and I get it. We're not all experienced with the file system. Thankfully, there's sort of a shortcut to get our file into the downloads folder. Check this out. So let's say we're going to try to submit our untitled document here. Let me open it up again. And if I click File up in the corner here, I can actually click Download, and that's at right here. All right. and it'll download it. You'll see it's popped up in the corner up here. And that means we can click this. Oh, actually, sorry, this is opening it up in a different application. But that means if we open up our Finder here, and we go to our Downloads folder, I don't know where that Finder window went. One second. Here it is. Downloads. Here we go. Excellent. So this is the file that we have just created and then downloaded. So it's an easy way to get things where you need to be if you just get lost. Okay, so let's go back to our new file here and take a look at our reference guide. Let's actually figure out how to work with code. Well, the basic unit of code in Jupyter Lab is a cell. This is a cell right here. In this cell, we can write code. Then we can print this, for example, and then we can run this code. The easiest way to do so is just this little play button right here. That'll print it and it'll advance the program to the next cell. We can actually delete cells as well with this little trash can button right here. So if you start getting too cluttered, you can delete that. You can create a new cell by clicking the plus button, or by clicking down here, you'll see it hovering it adds this option to add a new cell. Excellent. So let's see what we have next. There's a status for the cell. All right, so it's this little bracket next to the cell itself. Here we see it. There's a couple different statuses. The default status sort of is just blank, and that tells you that the cell has not been run yet. So if I type some new code in here, let's say if new variable equals hello world, print variable is hello world. Okay, so we can run this. And of course, I have misspelled something. And no, I've used the wrong operator. Look at me, very funny. We printed out a variable is hello world. Once a cell has been run, we'll see that we show a number next to that cell. And here we have 3. While a cell is executing, you'll actually see an asterisk in there. And you'll see this most clearly if you do an input command. Input, sorry, what is your name? All right, so if we run this here, we'll see an asterisk because the cell is currently running, and what it's doing right now is just waiting for your input. So I can say Eric Jones, press enter, and you'll see that cell has now has a number in it. Okay, so after that, there's a few other things regarding cells that you should see. What happens if we change the code in an existing cell that we've already run? Let's change the variable name here. New variable equals good night world, which is what I'll be saying pretty soon. Well, we see something's changed here. We now have a dot next to this bracket in the left-hand corner, and we've seen the color of this change to yellow. Jupyter Lab is telling us you've changed the code, so you need to rerun this cell. You'll see because I haven't rerun this, I can run this here and it'll still say variable is hello world. Let me delete this cell just for clarity. Right, it still says variable is hello world. Let's run it again. Still says that. But if I now rerun this cell and run this again, it's not printing the statement anymore because the variable is no longer hello world. So you'll notice something about Jupyter Lab, right? which is that Jupyter Lab basically stores variable information somewhere, right? And it's running a Python kernel that's doing that. So the variable value is being stored. So you might start to be like, well, is my function working because I have the right things on the screen or because I ran the right thing beforehand? What does that mean? Well, what if I delete this code and then I say, well, you know what? I'm going to submit my project soon. And I say, well, I'm going to run this cell. Let's say this is the code you're going to submit. And you say it works just fine. But then when I get this code, I'm going to run it from the beginning. And I am going to get a name error because you deleted the code from here before submitting the assignment. So on your computer, it was saved somewhere in memory, but it's not on my computer anymore. Basically, the way to reset everything, to make sure everything works, is to click this restart button to restart the kernel. It takes a second, but it will then restart the kernel. We can also run all cells in the code. Let me redefine this variable. We can run all cells by clicking this play button, and it will automatically restart the kernel. And you see here the asterisk while it was executing as well. Great. So we've got our regular input back. So just some quick FAQs. We can actually minimize cells by clicking this button on the side. If a cell is minimized, you'll see this triple asterisk here, which tells you that the cell is minimized. So if you're like, where did my code go? Perhaps you've minimized it. And this is more prominent on big pieces of code like this, right? So we can click minimize, and we can even minimize the output here, and it shrinks it all down. So it can be confusing, but I suppose also useful if you're only working on one piece of the program, not to have a whole bunch of stuff open at once. All right, so this is pretty much it for Jupyter Lab. I'll just show you once more how to quit Jupyter Lab. You can press Control-C and then Y, and it'll shut it down. And if you go back to this tab, you'll see something server connection error. That's because you've quit the application. You can't really, I mean, you can technically still do stuff in here, but it won't actually run anything. So you try this, it's file save error, stuff like that. So just close them both out when you're done. All right, well, thank you very much, folks, for watching. Hopefully this is helpful.